All right, everybody, away we go. Welcome to today's call. Uh-oh, I better check this. Let's see. All right, everybody, let me check that microphone. Welcome to today's call. It is Friday, November 23rd of 2018. Happy belated Thanksgiving to all you Americans who have celebrated, and welcome into the Canadian friends. We're thankful for you guys as well, obviously. So I know we might have a thinly attended call today. I know. Me versus Black Friday. I get it. It's a tough choice. But I want to go over something here before I get going. And then as you roll in here, I will take your thoughts, your comments, and you can take us in a direction. I know Tanyel, you were in here early. Tony, you're in here. Paul, you're in here. So you're all my early entries I noticed who came in. So I will deal with all of you first. But I do want to just make this, put something into the introduction here. And that is about value. This is something that's really struck me in a different way for the first time, and I want to deal with it to this extent, is that in the book Great at Work by Morton Hansen, which I'm grinding through with the minimum time I have to read, I really enjoy this book, and I seem to get a nice little tidbit out of it each time. And the latest tidbit was that you shouldn't start with goals. So here I am getting ready to help everybody start with their goals for next year because it's already begun. We all know that, right? Deals done now, unless they're really quick turnaround, are going to begin your 2019 book. So we're already there. But it is interesting that when I see as a coach over the years, people who are really trying to always get me to help them with goals, I really have to almost slow them down and cheat into the messaging piece of it. And in our strategic marketing plan, market, where are you going to do these goals? Where are they going to happen? Is that viable? It's really the next beat message. And message really is not some hokey statement that you adopt because you were taught somehow. Really what it is it's your expression of your value. So when you think about the term unique selling proposition, oftentimes people really get that deer in the headlights look and they get stuck. Well, what do you mean? What is a unique selling proposition? How do I do that? And if I go to the same, unique selling proposition that 15 other people have, don't I look like a fool? Yeah, I would say you do. I would say that if everybody starts saying the same thing to a certain extent, then you might look like a fool. And I can't stop that from being the case. But what I can say is that the one thing that I am absolutely is unique is you. There's nothing that you can ever do to compete against you. I mean, you're not going to clone yourself like a sheep, put you out there as a competitor and compete. So the way that we express ourselves as professionals in the real estate business is unique. So we can have the very same, and that's why I believe at the Realty Classroom, sharing with you all this universal 7 steps to seller success, 6 steps to buyer success. And then the agent case, it's the same thing with the bonus section. There's 8 steps. And those are really the universal steps to doing something. So you might get scared. Well, what if my competitor steals it off the counter at the open house? So what? So what? Your ability to express to people the way that they go through the selling and buying process is always unique to the context or in the context of the way that you say it and the way that you express it. And the more that you study it, the more subtle little nuances that you can pick up on. So I just want to say that value is really you. You're it. Your ability to learn, study, and add value to other people is important. Now, when I ask people, what is your unique value? People get stuck and they start babbling. It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen. But they just start babbling about integrity and I'm going to work hard. Yes, those are all values that you cherish and that you stand by. Your honesty, your work ethic. Those things are value systems. But your unique value is the way you do it. So if that's the case in a selling proposition, you have to really start to latch on to what you do well. And even if you've never been in the real estate business before, what is it that makes you unique? Okay? In other words, let me give you my example. I know that for years I've had this incredible ability to just have insight, whether it be about sports or business. I can look at a very chaotic, complicated scene and for some reason make sense of it. It's just a valuable thing that I've been born with, whether it be relationships or mechanicals. And even if I don't know how to play something or do something, I have an ability to look at it and simplify it. Henceforth, if that's a word, right? Hence, my ability to coach, to see the complicated business that we're in, chunk it up into infographics. That's just what I've always been able to do. It has nothing to do with real estate. It has nothing to do with time. It's just a valuable thing. It's a God-given gift that I'm able to express. And then I'm able to use it in different contexts, such as coaching. So I want you to think about that. What is it that you do well and is valuable? It's just something that you do. I don't even want to call it a skill set, and then you get all weird thinking about it. But give yourself some credit for being valuable. What is that thing that you've done in the past that people were really excited about, or that you added value to, okay? So I just want to be clear about that. All right, so let's open up the microphones. And like I said, Tanyel, you were in here first, Kent 2 second, and Tony third. I know I'm going to have a small attendance and attention span today because it's a day after a holiday. So, but let's do the best we can to plow through some really good stuff. I'm going to open up the mics. Remember, *6 mutes it if you are in a noisy spot. All right, here we go. Tanyel.
Hey, Danny.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
Good. You get the pleasure of being in the hot seat with me first, since you were first in line today. So tell, yeah, no biggie. Let's go to that. Let me just challenge you with that, because as you get your business built back up here, or you actually are going more from that sort of part-time supplemental to very much full-time and important to your business, what's your value personally? Like, if you just off the cuff with me, what do you think makes you valuable to people?
I think it's the fact that, I'm not sure how to communicate this, but I have the ability to push through very, very difficult deals. So I've gotten a reputation for just basically, sticking with a transaction and getting it to close no matter what.
Okay, take me outside of real estate and think about that stick-to-itiveness. That's what we'll call it for a second. Let's think about that for a second. Where else in your life has that been exemplified? Take me out of real estate. Don't even think about real estate for a second.
I would say that that's probably a key part of my personality. Growing up, I was sick a lot, and there was a point in time where I was separated from my family for months.
Yeah.
And my mom just kind of instilled with me, she was like, you never give up.
Yeah.
You never give in, whether it's to pain, whether it's to, the situation, she just instilled in me a fight.
Yeah.
And so that's how I look at life. I kind of tackle it.
Yeah.
I try to, at least.
So that's been valuable not only to you, but other people. So give me your stick-to-itiveness outside of real estate. Where has that come to play? Where have you seen that stick-to-itiveness on behalf of another person play itself out?
I would say my husband, more so than anything, when he had his heart attack.
Yeah.
And our situation drastically changed for a minute.
Yeah.
I was, I just felt like I don't know what I'm going to do. And then that fight just kicked in, and I was like, we're not, this isn't going to beat us. This isn't going to beat me. I'm going to figure this out, and I'm going to make sure that we're taken care of.
Yeah, cool, awesome. And then from there, what other types of attributes or values do you have? So the stick-to-itiveness and that fight is very valuable to other people, and especially in the context of where your husband had his heart attack and you had to really lean in on this business. What did that lead to next? So in other words, once you say, I'm going to stick to it, now there's sort of this other part of the personality that comes to and is valuable to make it happen. It's one thing to say, I'm not going to give up. It's another thing to be able to take it and make it an action plan. Tell me about that.
So I think the other part of it was just humility and understanding that I needed help.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't so prideful that I was like, I can do this. I was like, I need help. I need to know how to do this.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So some humility, but you needed help. So humility is the next thing. Does that make you valuable to other people?
I think so.
Good.
I think because it makes me a listener.
Yeah, good.
I'm putting their needs ahead of mine. I'm not thinking of myself that way.
Awesome. So when you were humble after the stick-to-itiveness, what did that lead to? Now get very technical with me. Very quickly you turned this into a business. How?
I reached out to you when I, heard about you.
Yeah.
And, said, hey, I need help. I need to understand how to, run this business.
Okay, awesome. And then you were resourceful. So you see, here's where I'm going. I just rattled off with you your narrative. And I think that's what people can't seem to do. They can't seem to give the narrative of their value just in general. And it's this weird thing. And again, I try to make this coaching environment comfortable where you go through exercises that lead to this, where I'm not trying to look for the right answer. There's no such thing. If you're on the phone with people or in front of people in this context, the first thing that you have to say is, I am valuable to this person. I believe that. Good. That's one thing. Now, what's the value? What is it? So you grab onto these little beats. In TV, when you're doing these TV episodes, as we learned when we were doing it with A&E, it was like beats. You had to hit these beats in the story. And I was just helping Jack write an application for a private school. Jack, where are the beats, right? Where are the beats? And so your beats in this value proposition story, well before we ever talk about the 6 points, the 7 points, are the beats of what make you valuable. Look, I'm a very stick-to-itive type of person. I do not give up for people when I know what they want. Now, I do that by being resourceful. So even when I don't have the clear plan, I will be resourceful and I will fill in the blanks. I mean, there's just really two clear beats there in your story. Now, that serves as this foundational bricklayer for upon which we build this marketing and this brand, right? So we lay these bricks and now we say on top of it, okay, now I give you a 7-point framework, which is really just universal ways that properties are sold, and there's an order to things there. So your stick-to-itiveness to stick with somebody and give them that plan and say, look, I know you've expired, but I'm not going to give up on you. I know you want to hang up on me on this first call, but I'm not going to give up on you. I think I'm valuable to you, right? That's why I'm going to stick with it on this call. I know you're mad, you're angry, I get it, but I'm not going to just wilt and hang up. I want you to have this plan. I want you to know this plan is coming. You see that as an example?
Yep. I like
But
it.
right, but you have to rely on that. You have to say, stop. I know you're upset that you've gotten 15 other calls from people, but I'm valuable. And the reason I'm valuable is because I'm not going to hang up without you hearing me say, I sent you my 7-step plan and some properties that sold around you. They were successful when you weren't, and there's a reason. And I want to be the person that helps you. Why? Beat number 2, because I'm resourceful. So I'm resourceful first with the universal plan that helps you have a backdrop for why you didn't sell. But I want to come there. I want to talk to you about it. At least I want to help you figure out what resources you need to bring in or fix or change to make this happen. You see, and I'm being overly dramatic about lifting your beats up verbally and calling them out, saying, look, I'm no shrinking violet. I have this stick-to-itiveness that my mother instilled in me. I am not going away, right? I want you to have this in your hands. Whether you're relisting today, whether you're relisting down the line, doesn't matter to me. I want you to know that this is valuable to you and it's coming. And so again, every time that you go into any sales situation, whether it's seller, buyer, or in your case, recruiting, don't stop, right? Use the stick-to-itiveness, okay? And that goes on top of, if you're valuable and you believe in giving away your best stuff for free, this gift, you will not just let somebody come up to you at the end of an agent lecture, and even though they own their own company, and they come to you and they say, Tanyel, obviously I'm never going to make a move. I own my own joint and I'm just comfortable there. But would you mind sharing this knowledge with me? Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes. I would be happy to do that because I'm valuable and I will stick with it even though you're my competitor. So I could give you whatever scenario that you would come up with, and I can layer it on top of that true valuable bottom line. That make sense?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, anything that you want to cover here today? Because I just wanted to open up with that and lean in on that.
No, the one thing that I, at some point, hopefully, is I've got the seller listing and the seller, the expired calls down pretty good. But I hadn't heard you do a buyer listing presentation on the sales call. So just at some point.
Those happen on the campfire. You mean to go through the whole buyer course? Yeah, I rotate on the camp. You can easily go back over to the campfire site and see me doing the last one because it always changes a little bit depending on what I'm leaning in on, right? So if you go over to the campfire site, you can see that clearly. But more importantly, send me an email. There's a very clear Dropbox access to me standing in front of a whiteboard in a teaching mode, going through the buyer course and the seller course.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's a resource that you can, and it's a nice, clean, one-off video for about 15, 17 minutes, something like that, where you can watch it. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah. But if you have any questions in a sales context about relating it to a particular situation, that's fine. I can handle that here too. So whatever you like. But if you're looking for the generalized version of me giving you my thoughts about those pinwheels, those infographics, then just there's a clear training video that you have access to. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Cool. Hey, Cantu, I know you're in here. You there, bud?
What up, Darren?
How you doing, buddy
What
boy?
up,
Happy
what up,
Thanksgiving.
Feliz Dia de Pavo.
I know. I saw that. Man, you start breaking out the Spanish on me, we're off to the races. I like it. Hey, listen.
There you go.
So we had a little conversation back and forth about things. One thing I'd like you to share on the call, at least, is that you have had a renewed discipline to go as a salesperson on the inside sales for your own company, to go in and really go after your tasks. Again, I know I probably asked you this last week too, but just give us an update of that experience and what it's doing to help you get reconnected to a flow and a rhythm as a sales guy.
Well, as I've probably said ad nauseum to a couple people on the call, I had my task behind somewhere between 2,900 and 3,000, and Patrick and I just made a challenge, I guess you call it, to ourselves, and we were going to get it to zero at some point.
Yeah.
So he and I both committed to making, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but a minimum of 25 ISA calls a day.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's literally how out of it I was. And I thought 25 calls was a lot. Because I just hadn't been working. I'd been, honestly, just kind of being lazy. But what 25 calls a day times 2 people did, and sometimes I'd get hot, I'd do 40 or 50,
Right.
60 even at times. But we got that number down to zero in about, well, it was kind of ironic because he ended up leaving my company November 2nd.
Yeah.
Well, on 3 weeks' notice after being there for 8 years with no indication that he was even looking for another job. But ironically, we zeroed out the call deck pretty much the day he left.
Yeah.
And so now I open up. Now, one of the big things was getting rid of the dialer. And I know that you have some great members that probably are doing a lot bigger numbers than me, Lee, and Dean, and some other guys. Maybe I've done their numbers in the past, but sure as hell didn't do them this year. That are big fans of the dialer, either them or, whoever they have doing it, using them. I hate the dialer, and I'm never going to use one again.
Yep.
It's impersonal. You can't reference the person's individual name or the last conversation or their address or the last time they went on, whatever website they might have jumped on, whatever platform you captured them, or if it's expired, you can't reference when the property went off the market. I mean, all sorts. So getting rid of the dialer was huge. That even made me lazier because I was literally transcribing my note and then taking a picture. I mean, it all sounds so dumb now.
Yeah.
Taking a picture of them, emailing the photo to some gal in the Philippines, and having her do my damn notes.
I know. Sounds absurd, doesn't it? Hold on to that thought for 1 second. I want everybody.
So
yeah,
Mongo.
yeah. I want everybody to understand that sales is in sales pipelines are a matter of efficiency, and if they're not managed, they don't exist, and that's a real problem for anybody. We've had a lot of coaching conversations recently, and certainly the body of work at the mastermind level is about a managed, intentional business. You can't just do it on muscle. Top producers come to me all the time, basically drowning in chaos, even though they're doing well. So the bottom line is you cannot run a pipeline out of control like that. And so what Paul's saying is not necessarily the dialers are bad per se. It's just that he has the core of the company to slow it down, to clean up a database, to stop all this noise of too many leads, and just to look at it methodically as a relationship building machine is a methodology that is managed and intentional. And to clean up a database, to clear it up, even to just grab what you have and segment it to begin with, like I'm doing with a lot of our newer members at the mastermind level. It's just let me know who's in there. Let me know what you know about them, and then let's segment that database so we can do something. I think then that linear job, it slows it down, Paul, right? And it makes it more personal, and you're more personally attached to what you need and you don't need. Because there's always time, as I'm doing with my own business right now, there's always time to open up the front end of it, meaning bring in more capacity, but not until that machine of methodically going through relationships is clean, in place, not bloated, not chaotic. And I think, Paul, this is why I was talking to Chris and Allison about this week on their 101, is that we can't keep coming to the end of the year and it's like Groundhog's Day. Like, here we go all over again. And the reason for that is salespeople just think like that. I hit my numbers, and I'm going to take the last month off, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to start up all over again. It sounds now, Paul, insane, doesn't it? And what happens is when you're skimming cream, you tend to build a business that is good at that. But if anything changes, that gets exposed drastically. And it's ugly when it does. And that's where you realize all this bloat and all this nonsense exists. So making a phone call, handwriting notes, sending it to Philippines, then that person putting it in there, the time that's wasted in resources, money, and effort is crazy. Agreed?
Oh, I mean, I completely agreed. I mean, I look at it now, and I'm doing these calls, man. And now I open up my Infusionsoft, and every day I'll look at my tasks, my past due tasks, and I'll just open it up while we're on the phone. It's right around 105 usually. It's kind of taking a minute to open, but anyway, today, I don't know what's going on with my computer. Anyway, something must have happened. Today it's 240, so obviously there's some really crazy recurring thing that happened today, because it was under 100 yesterday. So I don't know what it is. Maybe. It's just my stuff. It's lead check online. It's a task for Daniel to determine whether to delete clients out of here or not. So that'll be back under 100 today.
Yeah, good.
But yeah, so I just think that there's no one. I mean, for you it could be Laura, or for Lee it could be, I can't remember the gal's name. She's such a nice lady. I don't remember her name.
Robin.
No, the one that plays drums.
Robin.
Yeah, there you go. Robin. Whoever's doing that needs to have their nose in the database. They have to have complete, total. You have to be able to. It doesn't matter if you have 14,000 prospects or 3,000. You should, most cases, if you're a really good ISA, be able to recognize the damn name.
Yeah.
When you pull it up. And I literally
say that again. Hold on. Say it again. I want everybody to understand what that really means. What you said. I think most salespeople, and I see Richie Madden's watching too. We had a good conversation about this week with he and Chrissy on his team, and that's the key, is that we can do all this off the top business and it works, but it's when you go out to a house, which is even worse because you've been there, but they're not ready yet. And then that goes into this next spot that becomes very nebulous, where we're losing hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of opportunity at least, let alone close business. And you just said something very telling about that stuff. So if we don't get the right now appointment, right now business, there's this swath of potential. And you just said something that I'm surprised is actually doable. But since I've been doing it so long now, it's not a surprise to me at all. In fact, it's expected. Say it again.
Well, I was just saying, it doesn't matter how small or big your database is. Like, I think I have about 14,000. We pared it down from about 20. It's rare that when I'm making calls that I don't remember the name. Like, oh shit, I remember calling this guy like 3 months ago or 6 months ago. I remember talking to this guy a couple of years ago. I don't know. Maybe it's a gift. I don't know. But, I mean, I recognize numbers. I remember stuff, conversations. I do take really great notes, so I sound like a crazy person. Like, oh yeah, hey, remember I talked to you, 2 years ago, February, you said your kid was going to Hamilton and was going to get out this coming summer. Are you still planning on maybe making a move? And they're like, what? How do you remember that? I'm like, oh, it was a nice conversation we had.
All right, stop. I got another really good chunk here. I'm going to tell you that, yeah, maybe it's a gift, Paul, but I'm going to argue it's something different because I see it with Laura. I see it with me now better than ever before. When you move from a transactional mind shift, right? When you move away from transactional, meaning we set these goals and all we're doing is always chasing this number and we stay transactional. And that's why we're always skimming cream off the top because I got to grow and I got to transactions. So what we're missing is we're missing this intentional relationship building because real estate agency is about relationship building. It's not about selling houses, okay? Houses are actually sold as a byproduct of that relationship. Somebody has to get to the point enough where they trusted you enough to take an action step with you. That's what they had to do, right? So if you really think about it correctly that way, the value is in the relationship. I'll prove it to you. The most important thing that everybody wants in business is a past client to repeat or refer, but yet we're not willing to build a system that pays attention to relationship from the very start. And when you have a good sense of conversion, meaning you're intentional about putting those people, even if it's short term, even if I'm not meeting you till next week, and I make sure that I get the seller steps in your hands prior to, and I give you the deepest dive education so that even though our relationship is going to be shorter, it's deep as possible, I've created a more caring relationship where they don't feel just transacted. I'm not saying that you can't produce a happy person at the end of a transaction if you treat them with respect, but you will not create that true happy Cantu, as we call them, happy Griffins, right? You will not really produce that kind of a relationship unless it was intentionally close. Like you paid attention to the kids going to Hamilton. You paid attention to their timing. You really paid. And what does it really take, Paul? A few minutes to really pay attention, keep those notes and put them in there. It's like talking about nothing so that when you come back 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 12 months from now, it's right there in front of you. So maybe you have a skill and a unique, ability. Awesome. But you don't need to rely on that muscle because you just put a note in the database so that when you arrive back at them, it is all that relationship is reestablished. Holy mackerel. Nobody ever remembers me. My kid doesn't even remember my birthday, and you remembered me. I think it's that easy when you're organized. Would you agree?
I totally agree. Sometimes I told you, and I don't know if anybody else on the call knows, but my main avatar that I work with are seniors. People that are 65 to 90 plus, honestly, are most of my transactions. And a lot of times these people have lost their significant other at some point, or their kids have left, or their kids don't pay. Sometimes I make a simple call to let them know I sent them. Daniel actually did it, but sent them a snapshot of recent home sales in their neighborhood. And I'll end up talking to these people, I swear to God, 6, 7, 12, 18 minutes, because they want to talk.
Right.
And I don't mind one bit, because who else is going to have the patience to just sit and chat with somebody, not many people, and they really appreciate it. And I've been told so many times, I have every letter you've ever sent me in a file. I'm not ready yet, but when I'm ready. So sometimes when people say the quickest business done, I consider my business quick because it's always coming full circle. Like, I might have been talking to this person for 5 years. People are like, why the hell did you do that? I'm like, well, because that's going to be my sales the next 3 months. And then there'll be more coming because it's a big cycle.
Well, that's
so
what
I'm not really worried about quick sales,
Yeah. Well, that's what I think people underestimate about a sales pipeline, okay? I think they underestimate the power of being organized. And I don't think you have a lot of names. I was on with Paul Mihalowicz this morning and one of his newer agents, Chris, who's a teacher. And I said, look, if I could impart upon you one of the most important lessons that I have ever learned, it is the sense of simple database management, right? You have this marketing module where you look at, here's the way I explained it. Let me do it justice, Paul. The average real estate agent in the United States, at least, is going to transact 2 to 3 properties a year. That's the average. It's the law of averages. There's 1.3 plus or minus real estate licensees who join the board of realtors and become a realtor, right? They will transact 2 to 3 properties a year. And most people say, why is that so disastrous? Well, actually, ironically, it's just a statement of the law of averages. Each person who's willing to at least fog the mirror is going to be able to know or do business with 2.5 to 3 people a year in their sphere of influence who are going to buy or sell, who trust them enough or love them enough that they wouldn't cheat on them. That's just the law of averages. So the first thing for every new agent, Paul, I think, is to recognize, let's just be intentional about those 2 or 3 people. Let's set you up as if you were the first prospect and put you into the database that you already paid for as a realtor. What do you mean? The MLS. Once you pay for MLS, these days, the majority of the MLSs, if not all of them, have a delivery system where you can put some contacts in the back end. You're your first prospect, so you can test yourself and know the market. The next one are those friends. Let's say there's 6 of them who've expressed an interest, but 2 of them are going to transact, okay? All of those people go in the back end. So we're really, for the average realtor, we're talking about starting off with maybe 6 to 10 people in the back end of MLS receiving especially sold properties. Buyers can see what the money's buying. Sellers can see what's happening in their neighborhood, right? You layer in the 4 sales for the buyers so that they can go out and buy something too. But 6 to 10 people in a database? How stupid easy is that? And how much time does that give you to add love, care, and affection for those people that you know and you're leaning in on them? Now the second beat, Paul, comes, well, how do you take an average realtor and double their business? Well, now all of a sudden it seems stupid simple. Now we have to just go find people who we don't know. No matter how we do it, a stack of business cards, you borrow an open house, you do whatever it takes to market, as we started the call, your value as a strategic professional to add another 10 people to the back end of your MLS system, sending them homes. Now let's say we've got 10 people that we already knew, we've got 10 people we didn't know, and we have a swath of 20 people that are any one point in time receiving really close attention and insight from you. That's it. If people would just do that more intentionally, Paul, then they don't need any fancy database system, because if you can't manage 20 people at any one point in time, and I mean 20 quality people, I don't mean you put somebody in there, and, oh, I met a guy at a bar one night when we were drinking and he said he had me and I haven't talked to him in 6 months. We're talking about the intentional buildup of about 20 relationships that we're able to pay attention to on a regular basis. Now, what you're doing at scale is where a lot of people lose their way, right? Because at scale, Paul, what people do is now they say, well, wait a minute, that swath of people I don't know, I need 100 leads a month to find them. BS and incorrect. What we need is to slow that down and say, where could I intentionally create some new prospects who are willing to go into the back end of my MLS and get some insight from me? And that's a sales pipeline. It's the way to manage it. Expansion. And you can speak to this, Paul, and you can tell me whether you feel that way about your business or not. But I think we're all taught incorrectly. People say, open up the fire hose, get this lead platform, put in $1,500 a month, and you'll get 100 leads. And won't that be great? It has the opposite effect on prospecting that most people think. Because everybody, in my estimation, that I have ever met as a realtor was inadequately prepared to manage that kind of flow. And so they drown themselves in these bloated databases, and here we are even at our mastermind level talking about cleaning up. Why are we always cleaning up on aisle 2 with the mess that we create in a database? Simply because nobody said, slow down. Try to get 10 people that you know, 10 people that you don't know, and build up a database giving them what they want simply, which is what? Access to properties. That's it, Paul. But we don't start with that fundamental. Your thoughts about that? What do you think?
I'll take it a step further, and I don't think any of my agents are on the call today, but if they are, please feel free to chime in. I was talking to them last weekend, or, last Friday's team meeting. And, I looked around and I'm like, I got 3 agents that aren't, really trying real hard. Joy, Andy, Bridget. They haven't had a lot of success. Joy and Andy are still kind of waiting to do their first deal. It's been about a year. And Bridget's done a couple, and she has one under contract, so, kudos to her. But, Jonathan's been with me for 2 years. He became a stay-at-home dad a year ago. So his production went from 11, 12 deals a year to probably 4 this year. Yeah. But I asked him, I said, Jonathan, how many past clients do you think you have? He goes, I think I have 15. I said, well, that's really where you should start.
Yeah.
I said, with your next check, which you're going to get, in a month or so, later this month or early next month,
Yeah.
I said, take $150 out and buy 15 Starbucks cards and handwrite 15 holiday cards and throw a Starbucks card in there for $10. I said, you'll be amazed at the result. I said, you'll get a deal out of that. One deal minimum next year, I promise you.
Yeah.
Just by staying in touch. It's so important. So I think that managing your database, but also never forgetting the people that put food on your table. I mean, like, big, giant checks in your pocket.
Yeah.
Don't forget about them. Continue to thank them and reward them, and it's just going to come back to you, I think.
Yeah, right. Well, no doubt. But also, again, that's all part of that filling that prospect pipeline, which gets easier once you start to get this rolling. Look, if anybody does a singular good job, let's just talk about what sales pipeline looks like when it starts. I wish I knew this back then. I wish somebody was there to share this with me. And when I talk to people for the first time, whether it's a new mastermind member who's trying to clean up or one of their team members who's brand new to the business, it's the same advice. You have to be intentionally walking along your assembly line to try to produce something that's probably not what you think. Most people start talking about GCI and money, and it's absolutely the incorrect way to start, in my not so humble opinion. You have to think about the production of a relationship when it arrives as a past client. How are you arriving at that moment in time when it's all on record and it's their property, or it's on record and they have sold and they're on to the next spot? How do you find yourself in relationship in that moment? Because what you're telling them to do is that acceleration. So if we now say we're pouring people into this community, hey guys, someone's got a little squeaky mic, but if we're pouring this into that community of past client, how do they arrive there? We always want something from them, but have they arrived happy? What do we need to give them in that moment forward? It's not like you're just going to come back to this honey pot, stick your hand and grab some honey and take off without getting stung. You need to come back. The minute it gets there and it births, you have to be methodical about saying, hey, we're family now. This has just begun. I'm going to be your financial resource so you'll always know how the market's going. And any other thing, I'm going to be your resource. And that's what I was saying with Tanyel at the beginning. The ability to be resourceful for a past client, Paul, is everything. It's not just about sending that card. It's about making sure they understand we are family now, right? In the context of real estate, I'm it, you're it, we're together. And then the fruit that bears is incredible. And again, it's all genuine. I'm saying this. I broadcast this live on my Facebook social where I have all my friends and clients are there. I say this very transparently, Paul, right? Is that this is about relationship. I'm sitting here on a Friday after Thanksgiving because I have a relationship with you guys and I care about you guys and I care that you get empowered. You got to treat your clients that way no matter what the context is, right? And I think that bears fruit.
Well, that's why I think it's, as a group, and credit to you first, coming up with the monthly electronic market report and then the quarterly snail mail report was just so freaking brilliant. I mean, what a great way to stay in touch with our past clients, our current prospects. It's just amazing. You're delivering quality content, and I look at the open rate on the electronic version when I'm calling people. It's amazing. A bunch of the educational and conversational emails don't get opened.
Yeah.
The market reports almost always get opened because it's relevant to what they're doing. Like, oh shit, I paid $750,000 for my house last year. I wonder what's worth today. And you're not sending them what their house is worth, but you're sending them what's happening in their market.
Bravo.
They appreciate it.
Yeah, but stay with it. Stay with that. Yeah, go ahead, George. Hang on, George. You can jump in here with us. But that's the point of sales pipeline, is that it never ends if you do this right. It never ends. To go ask the boys and gals in insurance, right? I mean, if they're not constantly talking to their folks, their renewal, somebody goes somewhere else. And that happens every year most of the time, right? So I think for some reason in real estate, because it's such a big one-off transaction that happens so infrequently, if we get caught up in what we want first, we miss this unbelievable opportunity for a relationship and we don't think this way. We're always running back, but I got to pay for, coaching. I got to pay for marketing. I got to pay for this. Great. We all do. That's just the way the world works. Bring it down slowly to say the way that you do that is to build something up underneath it. Stop trying to just do the job every day without building something. And that building is in the relationship. That's what it is. Duh. It's the obvious. People will get off the couch for you as past clients, presuming you continue to serve them. And not everybody will. Some people just, it's not in their nature to get up and refer you. They're shy, whatever the case may be. It doesn't stop your need or your responsibility to serve them. That's what we did from the beginning to the end forever, until you sell your book of business and you tell people, I'm just no longer the guy doing this. You owe them that sense of responsibility. Go ahead, George. What were you going to add to that?
Well, I was just going to add that it puts in their court you providing information, and as you're giving them this stuff, most people, especially I found around my area here, they just don't give them that information. They'll tell you, well, I'll come to your house and do a CMA. Whereas I tell them, I'll give you a broad spectrum. I blame. This isn't exactly what your house is going to be worth, but this is what the markets around you say. And that leads to a second, at least to an in-house visit, whereas I may not be getting, my competition doesn't get in there. And Paul hit it on the head with the market report. I mean, that's just gold. They love that. Hey, I'm not looking to sell right now, but I want to sell, a month or 2 or 6 months from now. But you keep sending it to them, they're like, hey man, this guy's on the mark. He knows what's going on in the market. He's telling me what's going on in the market.
Right.
So it just solidifies and for me, it's empowering. It gives me no more the confidence that I need. I used to have a lot of, I'd second guess as I'm going into a thing, in my variety room. But now I have all the information and pretty much answer the questions. And most of the time, when the people come back with questions, it's stuff like, what time can we, start doing this, and where we're going to, stuff that like leading right into the sale.
Yeah, right. Because you've empowered them with information, George. That's what Paul's referencing here too, is look, all along the assembly line of a relationship, you have to ask yourself, if I were them, what would I want, right? What would I want in this moment in time? So if I'm meeting, let's go back to what we started about the basics of this business. Each and every year, all of us are going to know somebody relatively close to us 3 times or so a year that are going to buy. Okay. Now, as we've become top producers, we might have more, but let's just presume the law of averages first. 2 to 3 times a year, that's going to happen. So, and one of the big mistakes that realtors make, even at the entry level, is they take those relationships for granted. Why do you think so many people get cheated on by family members? It's because, first of all, the people that know and love us don't have context when we're brand new in real estate for us like that. They don't see us as a professional real estate. Oh yeah, you just began, right? That's like, what is that, a hobby for you? That's the way they think about it. So we have to be over the top to serve them so that they see the context, right? So we really have to be there to serve them. So they actually become the standard for treating everybody that way. Oh my gosh, my family, the worst thing that could happen to me is they'll cheat on me in this business. So I better say, look, I want to sit you down and be very clear. I'm a professional real estate agent. I follow professional strategic plans. And I study this. I know I'm new at it, but I went right away, like Tanya said early in the call. She sought me out to get professional here once she knew she had to take this very seriously. It went from, Tanya, we laugh, right? It went from this hobby to go on vacation with the money or they go on a little shopping spree to having to be the real breadwinner in the family. So she got serious and intentional. And so one of the things that she had a lot of family that were in her database. And she realized that some of them were never going to see her in this context and were never going to be anything other than noise in the database. 2 weeks ago, out they went. And the ones that did, now's the time to lean in with them on the market updates, to continuously go over the top to demonstrate. So Danielle, this is a big learning moment for you, to go over the top to demonstrate to them, act as if they're past clients, even if they weren't, giving that information so they have real context for you. Wow, you know your stuff, huh? Yeah, this is what I do. I know. You know me.
What?
Yep. Go ahead.
It's just the fact that we've been talking about this and saying, hey, let's send these market reports out. Honestly, this was like the least, trepidatious way for me to get back in there and really dig at these people in my database, because when you've neglected them, there's a fear there. But me sending out the market reports was like, let me send that market report out and then call them and be like, hey, did you get the market report I sent out? And that got my foot in the door and made me less nervous about reaching out to them after having neglected them for a time.
Yeah, watch this too. Go ahead, Paul. Come on.
Tanyelle talking?
Yeah, it is Tanyelle. Come on,
Yeah.
Paul.
Oh, hey, Tanya. Yeah, that's so funny you said that, because I was talking to Danny. I have, several hundred of past clients over the last 15, 18 years, and I neglected a lot of them. I just, to the point where, like, a lot of them, I didn't even send a closing gift because I was too busy or too lazy or too broke, whatever the case might have been at the moment. But some of these people I haven't talked to for 15 years. And so last summer, or spring, I bought, I don't know, maybe 100 Starbucks cards, like $1,000 worth. And I started sending them out with these handwritten cards. It was a real pain in the ass to take a long time to write the cards and stuff. And I got zip response. I was like, dang, these people are like ungrateful or selfish or what have you. But it's like, that was my take on it. What happened this time when I made it a biannual, like a campaign in Infusionsoft, I made it a biannual task. So this time, now that I got my database cleared out where I can make like 18, 20 calls a day and I'm done, I'm starting to write these cards again. But I was like, this time, I'm going to call them. And the excuse being, oh, by the way, Danny, do you still live at da-da-da-da? Just want to let you know I'm sending you a quick gift. So sometimes it was just a voicemail. Sometimes it was a voicemail and an email. Or sometimes I'd get them live. But what was fascinating was within making, I swear to God, no more than 15 or 20 calls, I probably heard back from 50+% of people either via email or text or a callback. And it was amazing. People were like happy to hear from me. Like, oh, I really like the magazine you're sending me. It's like Home by Design magazine, like a glossy thing I send every quarter. I get your reports, and it's like I was assuming that they were being selfish or not selfish, not appreciative. But people are just busy,
Yeah,
right. But if you actually, make that,
not looking to sell honestly,
Yeah.
Mine's not.
What's that? Yeah,
It's because it's not.
Go,
They're
George.
not pulling the trigger on a house right now, so they like the stuff, they appreciate it, but in their mind is, why do I need to call you?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you reach out to them,
or what would I say if I did call?
Yeah,
Or
right.
what would I say
There's
if
a
I did
real
call?
Paul.
Right.
There's a real good point right there. What would I say if I did call you? And again, see the problem with the thinking that business people have? If we are giving this information so that we get business, and that's the first beat. Don't get me wrong. I like to always say, I haven't lost my mind. I understand that without cash flow, all businesses collapse, right? I'm not losing my mind. But what I'm saying is how to get cash to flow in a business is really predicated on this servant's mentality. Just think of every great business that you've done business with that's been around for a long time. They always, there's a couple of factors, but they always were consumer first, right? Consumer first. And I'm not saying that a lot of those aren't about their consumer oftentimes being their employees. So if you look at the corporate structure, if they were about their employee, the buyers, sellers, etc., if they were about the people first, and it was really genuine, it's stunning how little subtleties change big doors. And let me give you an example. When you're all saying, hey, I never did anything for past clients, I know why. If you go all the way back to the beginning, it's because we started with, I went to this conference and this guy or this gal is killing it and they're doing this GCI and something must be wrong with them and they're using this platform, so I bought it and off I go. That's how we made decisions. Instead of coming back and taking Michael Gerber's advice in small business and saying, all right, hold on. Go out and observe how this business really works. And if you were to really do that, not in a micro way, but in a macro way, and you step back and you looked at the way the best businesses work, go to the brokerages that have been around for a long time and have survived every up and down in the market, and they have continued to grow. Now, it's a little bit different when you come right down to the consumer level, but the consumer whether they be agents, buyers, or sellers, has a perception that that company is doing something right and continues to go there. Now they become Goliath, and David says, well, how do I compete with Goliath? You go very micro, right down at the consumer level, and you listen. With Michael Gerber proverbially by your side saying, how does the business work? How does a seller make a decision? Okay? How does a buyer make a decision? How, and that takes into account the question always going on as digital affected the business. The way that a buyer made a decision before is extremely different than the way they make one now when it comes to where they start, right? So we just never sit still and say, what do you want, Mr. Buyer? At this moment, when you come in contact with me or anybody else that you don't know, because we're talking about sales pipelines today, and if you don't know somebody, okay, and you have to do business with them, you first have to know what they want. Think about that. Let that sink in for a second. So if we had treated them better by giving them a lot of what they want and we weren't attached to the outcome, okay? Meaning, what do you want? I would like unbridled access to MLS without anybody bugging me. No problem. I have to put you in the back end of my MLS. I give you a doorway directly into the source, not a syndicated site, but right into the source. So when stuff comes on that's valuable to you, you'll get it. Good. Will you leave me alone? Yes. All I ask in return is that if you do have questions, you come to me. And of course, if you are getting more serious, you give me an opportunity to win your business. It's just such a different starting point that, albeit it sounds subtly different, it just puts you in the right mode to be the person that they then trust and that they then go to for that next question to be asked. And you answer another one. You're resourceful a little bit more, it ticks up. And another one, and another one. So that by the time you arrive at past client, Paul, George, Tanyel, you all have a different relationship with that person because of the way that you started, right? Think about it. If you started that way, genuinely helping them, not just, oh, I got another lead on my sync site. Anybody call them? Did you get them? When are they moving? Did we get an appointment? Like, we're not starting it off correctly. That's why we're not finishing as well as we could. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm just saying we're not finishing as well as we could. And by the way, that doesn't matter how you get them. You could get them from an unbranded site. You could get them by meeting them personally at a kid's soccer game. Doesn't matter. It's, are you in tune with what they want in that moment? And are you giving it to them the easiest way that they can receive it? Nobody wants the difficult button. Don't be difficult. Be easy. Be easy, but be giving them a heavy dose of what they want. Paul, Tanyel, or George, you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah. I
like what you're saying because like what Paul
Tanyel, go ahead. Go ahead, Tanyel.
Having the ability to there.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, having the ability to follow up and call because you've given something of value. When I was making the phone calls after having neglected, it that to me was like the quickest way, to reconnect and to get business through the doors. And it's like that's a byproduct. Our profit margin, our productivity is a byproduct of these relationships that we're fostering. And even if they're not moving, I had one person say, I'm going to die in this house. And I said, I perfectly understand, but if you ever have to refi or you need work done or, let me at least send you this market report so you know what your value is at. And I'll just keep you, updated. As market fluctuates, you'll always know what your home is worth. And they were like, great.
Tanyel, you reminded me that you remind me to say something there about layers, because Paul mentioned it, now you've mentioned it. See, if I go to the beginning of the assembly line and I start off by saying, what do you want at this moment in time? I think I know, but tell me. And let me give it to you with easy access. I'm going to let you hit the easy button with me. Now, once that begins, the methodology of communicating through follow-up can be multiple these days. You can say something that's relevant about that information. Hey, remember I gave you what you want? I'm going to call you and leave you a message about it. I'm going to text you and say something about it. I'm going to email you further stuff. I'm going to mail you. So the coolest thing about a sales pipeline set up correctly is that we are able to continuously communicate about what they want and then begin to infuse a little bit of what they need. You don't want to hit them heavy with what they need. You know what you need? Like, see what that sounds like? I know what you want, but you know what you need? You need my 7-step plan. You need my 6-step plan. That's what you need. Great, but I don't want that right now because I'm not ready for that right now. What I want is I want to, in peace, in the privacy of my own home, open up my laptop and have all these properties that I want sifted and sorted nicely. I want to use an easy, pretty software to see what's there so I can wrap my head around what my money can buy or what I'm going to get from my house. That's what I want. So are you going to be the one that does that, or are you going to make it difficult? And then every time you leave a message or text me or mail me, is it going to be about you or is it going to be about me? So I think, to Paul's point, oftentimes when they don't respond, the old transactional us that would have started off by, you need me, you need this, okay, I'll give you some of what you want, but you're going to hear from me and I need to convert you to my next appointment. It's so wrong, right? It's just so wrong. I'm not saying it doesn't work. That's the scary thing. It does. If you buffalo people through the system, you sometimes just because you're the only one, but how they feel at the end is roughed up. Yeah, it was good. He got me the promised land, but whew, I'm exhausted. I don't need any more of that. I'm not even going through it again. No, Sally, I wouldn't even put you to Griffin. He's too aggressive. I used to hear that, Tanya, right? So what you end up doing is saying, well, let me just give them a dose of what they want. And as they begin to trust me and get closer to going to the real, out into the wild of real estate, then I'll infuse more of what they need. But right now, I'll just deliver that softly to them. And if they indulge, wonderful. If they're not ready to indulge, no problem. Just keep giving them what they want. And a lot of times, here's the key point. No matter what medium, you mail them, they don't respond. You email, they don't respond. They text, you don't respond, they don't respond. So what? So what? As long as they don't say, hey, leave me alone and disengage, a one-sided conversation that supports them in what they want with a dose of what they need, leave it alone. Leave it alone until they respond or opt out. That's all you have to do, right? It's not a waste of time. It's just the reality, like Paul was saying, of the way we communicate these days. Paul, yeah? What do you think?
Absolutely, man. I love Tanya's attitude about I've heard the same thing. They're gonna take me out of this house in a pine box. I'm like, well, and so I make a joke. I'm like, well, I hope that's a very long time from now. Do you mind if I just call you every 6 months, say hi, check in with you? Maybe you have a friend or a family member that might be looking to start. I'd love to earn their business and just stay in touch with you. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah, well, sure. Then they kind of laugh. It's like, you're willing to actually send me or keep in touch with me and talk to me and send me stuff, even though I just told you I'm going to die in this house? And you're like, yeah, why not? It's like, no skin off my back. It's a 44-cent stamp. 5 minutes of my brother's time. It's fine.
Well, again, that's part of the reality of business, is that when you're looking for people that you don't know to do business with you, the reality is you're going to send plenty of great materials, beautiful booklets, brochures, pamphlets that just end up in the circular file. But so what? As long as you're strategic and intentional and you're not just blowing that all over the place, which will cause you, by the way, to stop, and you're smaller. I just don't understand, why is everybody in such a hurry to be big overnight, right? It just doesn't work that way. You just don't get big overnight. I'm not saying you can't do it more quickly than maybe somebody else will, but I think if you start off with a very intentional, purposeful, value-driven business that cares about people, even when they don't want to do business with you, even when they encounter your brand, they hear you telemarketing, they get texted, and exactly like Paul just said, you just leave a good human footprint. Why? Because what happens the next time they see your sign? They get a postcard. Do you think maybe they say something nice about you? Oh, that's the guy that called me. He's a really nice guy. hey, Sally, I heard you were selling your house. You should go to his website. I'm not saying it's a hard referral or a big referral, but it's a 10 fingers up for the brand. And as long as the brand is not trying to do an area that's ridiculously large, that's big time valuable. Right?
Yeah, and I think what you're saying about being really intentional, because we were, like, for years, Daniel can attest to this, we were putting every single person who came on to, I'm not sure if you're familiar with this platform, but it's called Prime Seller Leads. It's the same thing as Sync or Bold or Boomtown. It's just for sellers, quick home evaluation. For years, we were putting every single person that came on there on a quarterly postal snapshot. Even if they said, I'm never selling, I was just curious. And God knows how many thousands of dollars we wasted in postage and paper and, color copies. And so like a year ago, we're like, what the hell are we doing?
Yeah.
Now, if the person said no, they're never doing anything, and they weren't even nice to you, then why are we even dealing with them? But if they were nice, so we really scaled it down. So now, I don't know if he's on the phone or not, he could tell you, but if he is, but I think he used to do maybe 20 a day. Maybe we do 3 or 4 a day, if that. Mm-hmm. But it's to the people that we had nice conversations with, whether or not they're selling.
Right.
And it's just so much smarter. But like you said, it was, I don't blame any coaching group or any particular platform, but I think 5 or 7 years ago, it was a race to see how many leads you could get. Because back then, I had 10, 12 agents, and I could book 2 appointments a week for each of them.
Right.
That shit ain't happening anymore. It's not that's come and gone.
Yeah.
If I get a buyer appointment, I'm taking it myself now, for God's sakes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again.
It's a different market.
Well, again, but this goes to the intentionality of the salesperson. Like when you walk out the door after this call, no matter who you are, no matter what business you're in, but especially real estate, are you intentionally going out there knowing your value, meaning what like Tanyelle, her stick-to-itiveness and her resourcefulness, that's why she's valuable. Those things are really important to her, and she's really good. Now you just layer on the context of, oh, you're selling? I'm a real estate professional. I happen to have a 7-point strategy that I'd love to share with you, right? Well, yeah, don't worry. There's no obligation. That's the stick-to-itiveness. I'm not going to give up just because they start to say, well, and they get, no, look, there's no pressure. This is for you. Are you working with an agent? Is that why you're worried? Yeah, my sister. No problem. Here, take it. Now listen, I'm hearing you. Your sister's brand new. You're having a little bit of a struggle. Give this to her. I think this will help both of you. Now, in the case that it doesn't work out, guess what I'd be more than happy to do? I'd be more than happy to pay your sister a referral fee. Huh? So like when you just get into that mode of really being there and valuable and resourceful for people, it's stunning how much pressure comes off, right, Paul? Even when you talk and when you do your inside sales calls, I think people are surprised at how the best in the world are on the phone, and you're one of them. Craig was another one. It was just so casual to me and so comfortable, even though we were still getting the result. Was it a yes or no? No big deal, no sweat. I'm not sitting here trying to memorize some script and use NLP to trick you into an answer or ask you why you haven't hired the right agent yet, all that crap. Come on. Like, just be valuable to people and the rest will follow is my thought. All right, let me ask for other questions because I went OT here a little bit, and I know I had a late run on some people joining us. What else do we have that we have to cover? I'll do a little extra time here. Unless you all want to go Black Friday shopping, I'm happy to let you go do that.
No, thank you.
Yeah, right, exactly. All right, one more call.
I saw a thing getting on Facebook today that said, you shouldn't be happy for Black Friday. You should be happy they ripped you off the other 364 days a year.
Yeah, right. My kid, I'll give you a funny before I let everybody go here. One of my kids, they're all out. They're all home, all 5 of them, and they're all dangerously out shopping together. And they keep trying to put the touch on me, right? So one will say, oh, did you see the picture of this jacket? And my hockey player just calls me. He goes, hey, all those nice tournaments? There's a pea coat here that was $200. You won't believe it's $80. Do you think Stephanie can buy it from me and you'll give her back the money? I said, have a nice day. Get a job to go with the hockey.
That's awesome.
Too funny. All right, everybody, listen, I'm thankful for you the day after Thanksgiving that anybody would show up here and play sales training with me. You guys and gals rock. Enjoy your families, enjoy your life, but know that we here at the Realty Classroom are thankful for everybody that participates. So go enjoy your weekend. I'll see you on the other side.
Later, Danny.
Really good call,
Take care,
guys.
everybody.
Thanks, Danny.
Take care. You bet, Allison. Take care.